Hi. So here we are today, guys. We are going to get ready to mark our fin lines and lug lines, launch lug lines. Yep. You will need your direction piece, a pencil, your body tube, some scissors, and a piece of tape. I have my teachery tape roll here. So, um, oh, and you also need a door frame, and I'll get to that part in a minute. But first thing first, what you're going to do is you'll need this little launch lug and fin line guide. That's this piece of paper right here. So you're going to cut this out, cut out the shaded part as well. So cut it all the way over to that shaded box. We're going to use this to help mark on our body tube where these little pieces of paper go. Eventually, you'll use that other little pyramid-like piece, just not today. We're not doing that part today. So don't like get rid of it or anything, and definitely don't throw away your directions. I'm just trimming this up around this rectangle here. There we go. Now you're going to wrap this little piece of paper around your body tube, at whatever end you determine is going to be the bottom. And we're going to mark where on our body tube we're going to put our launch lug and our fins. So take your little piece of paper, you're going to wrap it around, tuck the shaded part underneath the other part as much as you can, and that's where you'll put your little piece of tape. Piece of tape. I'll put that right on here. Now you see these little markings right here, those little hash marks. You want those to be lined up as best you can so that your markings are even around the tube. Same thing at the top, so you can look at those markings, do the best you can to line them up, and then tape. That is the best that I can do. Put my little piece of tape on there to secure it. And this paper will move around. You don't want it to. You want it to be pretty still. So we can mark our lines and we'll know exactly where everything goes. You see how on here you have some fin lines? That's the FL. Then you have another FL. The LL is your launch lug line, your lug line. So we're going to make sure that we mark at both ends of these arrows and then label whether it's a fin line or a lug line. Okay? So I'll take my pencil and I'll make a little mark here and a little mark here. Now I don't want this paper to move, so I'm kind of going to shift all of this together. You see how my thumb is holding onto the paper and the tube? I'm going to just shift that around a little bit. Mark here and here. And I'm going to write LL next to it because that is my lug line. Can you see it? Yeah, I just did a little bit of marking right there. That's my lug line. Here I've got my second fin line and rotate it. This next part, got a fin line right here. Okay? Here's the tricky part. At least it's kind of tricky for me because I don't know how I'm going to do this with the camera. But I just slid off my paper ring. I'm going to go over to my door frame and I'm going to line up this line and this line so that I can draw a very straight line connecting those two hash marks. I want my fin to be on here straight, so I have to draw the line where I'm going to glue my fin on eventually. Same thing with my lug line, and I'm going to mark this a little bit extra long. I'll take this one out a little bit longer. And then fin lines, lug lines. Okay, so this is a little bit tricky for me, but what I've got here is I have my body tube, and you see where my fin lines are right there? I'm going to rotate it so that my fin lines are lined up right with that edge of my door frame. This is just a door frame. Ta-da! Just a door frame. The part that I'm lining up is the part that kind of comes out that your door closes into. Okay, so I'm going to take my fin lines, I'm going to rotate it, sorry, until it gets right there. And then this is kind of working like a ruler, so I can draw a straight line on a rounded surface between those 2 points. See how I did that? How I joined those 2 lines? I'm going to rotate it again and draw the rest of my lines. Okay. So here's what my lines look like now. You see I have my fin line, my lug line, fin line, and my other fin line. They're all pretty straight, marked around the tube. We are in good shape. I forgot to tell you earlier that you do need your ruler. So if you don't have a ruler or a measuring tape or anything handy, pause the video, go get it. All right. We need to make a couple markings on where our lug line will go, or where our launch lug will go. So I'm going to rotate my body tube so that my lug line is easily viewed on my ruler. And I need to measure 1 3/4 inches from the end, or 4.4 centimeters, which is 44 millimeters up from the end. So whether you use the metric side or the English side, either way you would like to do that. So I'm just rotating my body tube around so that I can mark on my lug line. Remember that your 0 on a ruler is not at the end. So the 0 is in a little bit. That's 0. That's where the measurements start. And you're going to go 1, that's 1 1/2. Here's 1 3/4. So you're going to mark there. 1 3/4 there. If you wanted to use metric, I'm a science teacher, that's what I do. I'm going to start at 0. And I'm going to measure up 4 and 4 4/10 centimeters, or 44 millimeters, and that's my spot. This is where I'm actually going to end up gluing my launch lug. Remember, your launch lug is that little tiny tube looking thing, that paper thing? That's your launch lug. That's where you're going to glue this right here. When we go to launch, there is a metal stake kind of thing, not like delicious, but like a stake that sticks in the launcher, that we slide our rocket down so it stabilizes it and launches it straight. And we need our launch lug to be located at the right spot so it can launch easily. And then on these fin lines, that is where we are going to glue our, you guessed it, fins. We'll do that in our next video.